3 real nightmares, 3 haunting summer vacations you'll never forget at MIDNIGHT. It was the summer of '92 when 3 friends dared to embrace their worst fears, only to become entangled in nightmares that would remain etched in their souls forever. They packed their bags, ready for the sun, laughter, and endless memories. But fate had a different agenda, a chilling twist that awaited them as the clock struck midnight. The echoes of sorrow, the shivers of fear, and the madness of summer hauntings mingled in the air, thick as summer humidity. It was a promise of thrill, but also of dread. On their first night at the old Lakeview cabin, nestled deep within the woods, the air turned electric. Trees whispered secrets, rustling leaves held lingering shadows, and a soft breeze carried a sense of the unknown. Something was unnaturally quiet, almost too still as they gathered by the fire. The campers' tales of ghost sightings nearby danced around the flames, sending shivers up their spines. The legend of old Mrs. Whitaker, they said, was enough to make your blood run cold. She vanished years ago, but her mourning wails could still be heard echoing through the forest on nights just like this one. As the darkness deepened, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air, freezing them in their tracks. It wasn't a playful trick. No one was fooling around. This was real fear, palpable and raw. They exchanged terrified glances, hearts pounding in unison, as the distant sound faded into an eerie silence. What lay ahead in that haunted wilderness, each of them wondered. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The friends decided to investigate, adrenaline blending with that sinking feeling deep in their guts. The night swallowed them whole as they ventured into the darkness, flashlights flickering. Shadows twisted into shapes, everything around them felt alive and malicious, pushing them to the brink. Each crack of a twig sent them jumping, every rustle hid something sinister. What if Mrs. Whitaker was more than just a story? What if she was watching them, waiting? They stumbled upon an ancient, rotting dock that jutted out over the water like a skeletal finger reaching into the abyss. The lake was dark and impenetrable, mirroring the storm brewing inside their minds. Suddenly, they heard a soft splashing, a ripple that ran against the stillness of the night. It was soaked in mystery and dread. Something or someone was in the water. The friends felt the weight of fear pressing down on them. Were they ready to face whatever awaited in the depths? They couldn't turn back now. As they inched closer, staring into the murky abyss, a figure began to emerge from the shadows. Was it a spirit? A monster? Or just their own imagination spiraling out of control? Each heartbeat echoed, each breath tightening their chests, leaving them gasping for air. The unseen threat drew near, clawing at their resolve, and they faced their first chilling nightmare. What they were about to discover could shatter everything they thought they knew about themselves. Every fleeting moment hung thick with terror, a whisper away from collapsing into a full-blown nightmare. The summer had only just begun, but little did they know this was only the beginning. What other horrors awaited them at midnight? The darkness closed in, an eerie blanket that swallowed any flicker of light they might have had. The friends stood on the precipice of their own fears, the dock creaking ominously beneath their weight. As they peered into the inky depths of the water, the figure grew clearer. A long, flowing shroud clung to something beneath, its pallid face partially visible, sunken eyes staring back at them with despairing longing. Is that? Sean's voice trembled, barely breaking the thick silence. It can't be, Jenna whispered, clutching Trevor's arm, nails biting into his flesh. The cold grip of fear suffocated her certainty. They all felt it, the icy fingers of dread creeping through their veins. The figure slowly broke the surface, water cascading off its translucent skin. The crumpled features of a woman distorted into a shivering smile, mirroring the twisted tales of the locals. Was this Mrs. Whitaker? The ghostly visage seemed to call to them, gliding closer, droplets shimmering like diamonds in the moonlight. "Help me," it whispered, voice fragile as the breeze. "Should we answer?" Sean shook his head, stepping back instinctively. Trevor hesitated, eyes locked on that haunting apparition. What if she needs us? Like moths to a flame, the allure of answering the call pulled at them. They moved forward, drawn by the sorrowful wail that struck a chord deep within their hearts. Each whispered plea triggered a glimmer of sympathy, an urge to uncover the truth behind the haunting. What had happened to her? Why was she bound to this cursed lake? Suddenly, the splashing turned frantic. The waters churned violently, sending waves crashing against the old dock. The ghostly figure vanished beneath the surface, replaced by frenzied ripples that seemed to stretch out towards them. Each wave crashed against their fading courage, pushing back the bounds of hope. "I don't like this," Jenna screamed, her voice cracking. Panic surged through the trio. They backed away, but something unseen gripped their shadows, pulling them back. The wood splintered beneath their shifting weight, a sound entwined with their breaths. Then, in an instant's terror, they saw it, a gnarled hand bursting through the placid surface, flailing, grasping for purchase on reality. They could feel their hearts hammering, pounding against their rib cages as if they wanted to escape. "We have to go," Trevor shouted, his voice shaking. But all at once, the lake erupted with a chorus of screams, echoes of despair unfurling from the depths. A maelstrom of translucent arms, faces of sorrow had clawed their way to the surface, pleading for lifelines they couldn't find. The friends could only stand agape, disbelief twisting their expressions into masks of horror, as the night morphed into a cacophony that drowned out their terrified gasps. "Run!" Sean finally commanded. The three spun on their heels, racing up the dock, the very structure creaking ominously as if it were in protest against the sheer panic that charged through them. They raced back into the woods, branches whipping at their skin, fear igniting their instincts, but as they ran, the insistent call of the lake whispered into their ears, a reminder of the darkness they may never escape. Back at the cabin, they slammed the door closed, collapsing in front of the shutters. Hearts pounded in their ears. Shadows danced dangerously close, stretching toward them like vengeful spirits. "What was that?" Jenna gasped, fighting to regain her breath. "I don't know, but this is just the beginning, isn't it?" Trevor stammered, eyes darting nervously. The night loomed heavily, and just as they believed they had escaped fate, a hollow knock reverberated against the cabin door. The sound echoed through them, icy tendrils crawling up their spines. They exchanged nervous glances, hearts plummeting. What kind of nightmares awaited them now? Would they find safety, or surrender to whatever terror had been unleashed? The cabin trembled under its whispers, and suddenly, they realized, it wasn't over yet. The summer of nightmares had only just begun. The knock sounded again, persistent and hollow, reverberating through the walls like a death knell. The friends shared a frantic stare, the room closing in around them. Trevor's mind raced. What if it's her? What if we didn't escape? It can't be. It's not real. Sean shot back, though the tremor in his voice betrayed him. They huddled together, breaths shallow, seeking comfort in proximity as they pressed against the cabin's old wood door. Jenna stood frozen, her eyes glued to the tiny window where the ominous lake reflected fragments of the moonless night. Shadows danced like menacing specters outside. Each movement stirred the gut-wrenching fear they couldn't shake. Another knock. This time, it was louder, punctuated by a gravelly whisper that slipped through the cracks. "Help me," it dripped with agony. "No. No more." Jenna screamed, stepping back, her heart racing in panic. "This isn't happening. We need to figure out what she wants." Trevor's voice cut through the chaos. There was a desperate determination in his words, a glimmer of bravery stoked by fear. "We can't let them, whoever they are, keep us trapped here. But as they deliberated, the air grew thick, as if the shadows themselves were listening, waiting. A shiver crept up Jenna's spine. What if we're meant to help her? What if that's what binds her? Trevor flinched. What if helping her means we're drowning too? Sean finished, a grim certainty clouding his eyes. A silence fell, one that stretched and thickened to an unbearable point. Just then, the window rattled violently, casting a flurry of dim light across their tense faces. They jumped, hearts jolting, as if a palpable entity was forcing its way into the room. Should we open it? Jenna whispered, her voice barely above a breath. What if it is a trap? Or salvation, Trevor countered. Before any decisions could be made, they heard it again. A soft, sorrowful wail that seemed to curl around their minds like smoke, intoxicating and suffocating at once. It was both inviting and repulsive. The lake Sean chimed in suddenly, the dawning realization splashing across his face. That's where she wants us. What are you saying? Jenna asked, her voice trembling. We can't just ignore it. We need to confront whatever it is down there. Otherwise, it will haunt us forever. The conviction in Sean's voice wavered, but something deeper stirred within him. They all could feel the weight of the air around them, saturated with haunting memories demanding to be revealed. Let us get the flashlight from the kitchen and see if it's safe to look outside, Trevor suggested. Jenna nodded, clenching her fists. Together. No one breaks away from the group. The three huddled towards the kitchen, shadows shifting in their wake. Each footstep echoed as if the very cabin were counting them down. They reached the doorway. The flashlight was there, flickering weakly against the cupboard, like it was terrified of illuminating the truth. Sean reached for it but paused, raking the back of his mind for something, an excuse, a reason not to press ahead. Without waiting, he flipped the switch. Light broke through the darkness, revealing the chaos outside. And what they saw made every collective breath catch in their throats. The lake, once tranquil, now churned violently. Figures surfaced, distorted and spectral, reaching towards the shore. Their mouths moved in silent screams, drowning in the very voices that had called to them. Turn it off. Jenna panicked, pulling back, but it was too late. The spirits converged, their eyes locking onto the friends with unyielding desperation. Make it stop. Trevor shouted, fighting back the urge to flee, knowing the true horror lay behind the door they were circling. As they faced the terrifying reality unfolding before them, they couldn't shake a question whispered over and over by the ghostly chorus. What would happen if they failed to help? The tremors within the cabin escalated, the very foundation gearing up for an unsettling reckoning. Then, with a bone-chilling finality, the door rattled once more. In the quiet that followed, they realized they weren't free yet. The nightmare was just beginning. Without warning, the door swung open violently, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness. A voice, deeper and more resonant than any they had heard before, echoed through the threshold. Now, it's your turn. Every breath hitched in their throats as they faced what lay ahead. The figure in the doorway loomed larger than life, its form a shifting shadow, indistinct and volatile like smoke. The air crackled with an energy that tightened around them. Each friend's heart pounded in synchronized fear, a primal beat echoing off the cabin walls. They were so close now, a heartbeat away from something unrecognizable. What are you? Trevor stammered, struggling to sound brave. The being stepped forward, its voice like ice slicing through the heat of the room. What lurks beneath the surface calls for aid, yet to break free from despair, a price must be paid. Will you sacrifice to help the lost? What do you want from us? Jenna's words rushed out, urgent and trembling, but the shadow simply hovered, an eerie silhouette against the dim light. The lake hungers, it replied in a whisper that chilled the air. It takes what it loves, and it has set its sights on you. Why us? Sean asked, the question barely escaping his lips, barely as steady as he wished his hands to be. We did nothing. Nothing yet, the figure hissed, its form shifting, coalescing. But choices lie ahead, and with each choice, chains will bind or break you. Witness with a flick of its wrist, a vision erupted in the room, the walls warping into a memory, a sunlit day by the lake. Laughter echoed, children ran freely, so naive. But as the scene turned, shadows slipped into the frame, sneaking through the laughter like dark clouds smothering the sun. Jenna gasped. She recognized herself as a child, the carefree girl splashing in the water, oblivious to the malevolence lurking beneath. "Leave it," Sean rasped, but the shadows reached, twisting tendrils grasping at the innocent joy, pulling it down to the depths. The friends recoiled as the joy turned to pale screams, the laughter morphing into frantic calls for help. "What are we supposed to do?" Trevor shouted, his voice mingling with the cries. "Just watch. Only you can decide," the figure replied, its form fading slowly. "Find her or be consumed by your guilt." The water remembers. With that, the vision collapsed into darkness, and the shadowy figure melted away into the void, leaving them with the aftermath of dread, a deeper darkness creeping into the corners of the cabin. The pungent smell of decay hung heavy in the air, pressing down on them like the weight of the doom they could now feel wrapping around their hearts. It was real, Jenna breathed, shaken but defiant. "We can't just stand here. We have to go to the lake. She needs us." Trevor and Sean exchanged glances, a silent debate playing out between them, each feeling the tug-of-war between fear and resolve. "Are you sure?" Sean murmured, his voice betraying his hesitation. "If we don't, what'll happen to us? What'll happen to her?" Jenna insisted, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. "She might be the reason we never escape," Sean countered, biting back the panic that clawed at him. "We can't turn our backs," Trevor stated sharply, the urgency rising. "This is our chance, our only chance." The friends' gazes rested heavily on the open door, its darkness waiting like a predator. They moved as one, pooling their courage as they stepped out into the night, the oppressive weight of shadows hungry at their heels. Each step toward the lake pulled at them, a magnet for their fears and hopes. The lake loomed ahead, its surface frothing and roiling, mirroring the storm inside them. "Where do we even start?" Sean whispered, fear dripping from his voice. Jenna pushed forward, determined, her eyes searching the darkness. "We need to listen," and as if in response, the wails of the spirits erupted from the water, their sorrow echoing against the night, drawing them closer toward the abyss. Then, echoing louder than before, an anguished voice broke through. "Help me or join me." Terror clutched at their throats. They knew the stakes, they knew the truth awaited, but the deeper they moved toward the water, the more the weight of dread thickened like fog. Just as they were about to step into the cold embrace, the ground beneath trembled, a low growl vibrating through their bones. Each gaze turned back toward the cabin, now a ghost of its former self, shadows mocking them. With the lake ahead and the cabin's haunting presence behind, they realized too late they were trapped in a game far older than themselves. But before they could process what loomed next, a piercing light flashed from the lake's depths, revealing a face beneath the water's surface, distorted yet familiar. The moment hung suspended, and they froze, hearts racing, fear clawing at their sanity. "Jenna!" The voice screamed, a sound both terrifying and achingly familiar. And in that moment of dread and recognition, they were left with a choice that would shape their fate. What would they do next? Would they reach into that haunted water, or step away into their own escape? The agonized scream of her name echoed off the darkness, a haunting melody that coiled around Jenna's heart like a noose. "No!" she shouted, her voice breaking the reverberation of the lake like glass. The face beneath the water twisted in pain, its eyes wide with desperation, reflected in each member of the trio. "Can you see her?" Trevor breathed, stepping closer to the water's edge. His face was pale, yet his determination pulsed in the air like a live wire. It was clear wherever that figure was, it was pulling each of them closer, like moths drawn towards a flame. The anguished voice from the depths cracked through the night once more. "Jenna, don't leave me. Hold on. Jenna yelled, instinct taking over. She knelt at the brink, stretching her hands toward that shimmering face, willing herself to bridge the gap between reality and the wretched depths. Was it really her? Could it be? No. What if it's a trap? Sean's cry was frantic as he grabbed Jenna's arm, yanking her back. You could drown or worse. But she's in there. Jenna's eyes were wild with emotion, and desperation clawed at her throat. The weight of guilt settled thick around them, a palpable reminder of the carefree days at the lake when they were children, blissfully unaware of the darkness lurking beneath. We can't just leave her. Is it worth risking our lives? Trevor's brow was furrowed, his voice quivering. We don't know what that thing wants. In that moment, the very air shimmered with a potent energy, and the lake bubbled like it had come alive, the surface cracking as something stirred beneath. The shadows from the cabin slithered forward, threatening to swallow them whole, tightening the noose of dread, and Jenna couldn't breathe. Help me or join me, the voice sang again, this time tethered to a deeper anguish, echoing from the void within Jenna's mind. The memories, the laughter, the carefree splashes blended with screams of torment. She felt every emotional phantom grip her, a morose tapestry of joy and sorrow. Please, we need to make a decision, Sean urged, casting anxious glances toward the dark mass of the cabin. The longer we wait, the more powerful it gets. What if it's feeding on our fear? As if to punctuate his words, a violent wave crashed against the shore, spraying cold water over Jenna's hands. She stared into the depths, desperation turning her heart into cold stone. What would happen if she reached for that familiar face? What if it wasn't just her? What if it was a piece of herself, a fragment of lost joy that would never resurface? Together? She finally murmured. The question hung in the air, a flicker of hope against the suffocating darkness. If we do this, we do it together. Trevor and Sean exchanged tense, unspoken thoughts, an electric current sparking between three friends on the brink of their worst fears. Okay, Trevor said slowly. If we go in together. With their hearts pounding as one, they clasped hands, warmth blending against a backdrop painted in icy fear. On three, Jenna urged, voice steadying as they stared into the abyss. 1, 2, but even before she could count to 3, the lake erupted. A swirl of darkness, a maelstrom of pain, surged from the depths, and the once familiar face mutated into a monstrous shape, twisted and contorted in a silent scream, a grotesque reflection of everything they had buried. Jenna! The voice cried again, but now it was drenched in malice, mingled with the angry shrieks of the spirits. Join me! The friends stumbled back, terror grabbing them in its icy grip as the world shifted around them, a nightmare redefined. Run! Sean yelled, ripping free from the icy grasp of the water's pull, his resolve breaking through the overwhelming fear. They dashed toward the cabin, hearts racing, the promises of the past clawing at their minds. Behind them, tendrils of shadow chased them, whispers of regret curling at their heels, while Jenna screamed in her mind, a chorus of despair and rage battling within. Once inside, the cabin walls felt like they were closing in, shadows whispering their secrets, daring them to look back. What dark truth had they awakened? Did you hear it? Jenna gasped, trying to catch her breath. It wasn't just calling for help. As fear morphed into paralyzing uncertainty, they barely crossed the threshold when the door slammed shut, sealing their fates. The voice echoed once more, insistent and unyielding. Your choice has been made. They spun toward the window, and the lake shimmered in the reflection, alive, hungry, and waiting. Is there any way out? Trevor asked, his voice trembling as shadows flickered across their faces, revealing half-formed shapes, a rift tearing their friendship apart. Was there still time left to save one of them? What would they risk to save each other now? The cabin felt like a tomb, silence wrapping around them like a suffocating shroud. Jenna leaned against the door, her body trembling, breath coming in barely contained gasps. The whispers wrapped around her, a chilling echo of her own thoughts mixed with a cacophony of long-buried dreams turned nightmares. "What do we do now?" she finally croaked. Trevor's gaze flickered to the window, where the moonlight danced across the surface of the lake, inviting yet foreboding. "We can't just sit here. We have to find a way out," he insisted, his voice a desperate plea as he moved toward the window. "Do you really think it will let us?" "That thing, whatever it is, it's all around us now," Sean countered, voice edged with panic. He pulled Jenna away from the door, guiding her into the dim light of the cabin, as though merely stepping out from the shadows would shield them from the terror outside. "Maybe there's another way," Jenna said, her mind racing. "If we can find the old boat shed, it's at the far side of the dock." "If we can get there." "No," Trevor interrupted, his eyes wide with fear. "We can't split up. We might not find each other again." "Staying here won't do us any good either," Jenna shot back, her heart pounding in her chest. The very essence of the cabin seemed to thrum with an unseen energy, as if responding to their growing despair. Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, plunging them into semi-darkness. Jenna's heart skipped a beat. "Did you see that?" she whispered, dread prickling at her skin. "It's just the power," Trevor reassured, though his voice shook. But deep down, they all felt it, that gnawing cold creeping in, a presence suffusing the very walls around them. The voice came again, softer this time, but unmistakably sinister. Let me show you your past." "Stop it!" Jenna screamed, clutching her head, feeling memories surge within her, swirling like demons clawing at her sanity. Childhood laughter intertwined with moments of darkness. Shadows danced at the corners of her vision, pulse quickening beneath the weight of guilt and longing. "Focus!" Sean shouted, and Jenna's head snapped up. "We can't let this thing take control." "What do we know about it?" "It feeds on our memories, on our regrets," Jenna gasped, her mind landing on a truth she'd rather avoid. "It's using them against us. We're trapped by our own past." "Then let us confront it," Trevor said, voice fierce now, igniting a spark of bravery in their hearts. "Whatever it wants us to see, we need to face it together." A thundering knock echoed from the other side of the door, rattling the frame. Let me in," the voice was no longer pleading, but demanding, layered with fury and despair. Jenna's resolve wavered for a moment, the fear clawing at her throat again. But the thought of what lay on the other side, guilt personified, made her blood run cold. She squeezed her friend's hands tighter. "No matter what happens, stay with me." They moved together, shoulders squared, pushing towards the window. The glass was clouded but yielded under Trevor's forceful shove. "On 3, we jump," he declared, determination flooding his voice. "Are you insane?" Sean cried, but the desperation in his eyes betrayed that he was ready for anything. 1, 2 with a collective breath, they lunged, hearts racing against the backdrop of shadows poised to swallow them whole. As they leapt, Jenna caught a glimpse of the lake, a vortex of darkness opening like a mouth, ready to consume them. "Jenna!" Someone cried out, but her name was lost to the wind, tangled in the chaos of their leap toward the unknown. When they hit the water, the world shifted, pulling them under. Their cries formed bubbles of terror that vanished into the dark. Just as Jenna's lungs screamed for air, a vision engulfed her, flickering images of past summers burned in her mind. What would she find in the depths? The painful memories she thought long gone, or new horrors waiting to surface. As the water enveloped her, something cold and familiar brushed against her skin, dragging her deeper into the darkness. Would they rise to the surface or be caught in the depths of their own fears? What awaited them below? Jenna felt the icy fingers of the water clutching her, pulling her deeper into an abyss where light surrendered to darkness. Each frantic movement she made only seemed to augment the power of the cold that wrapped around her like a shroud. Panic surged through her veins, drowning out everything but the instinct to survive. Around her, blurred shadows danced, taunting her with memories she wished to forget. Laughter morphed into cries, and the face of a long-lost friend emerged in the swirling void, someone she hadn't thought of since that fateful summer. The weight of loss pressed heavy on her chest, like a stone dragging her down further into the depths. "Jenna! Get up!" Trevor's voice broke through her fog of despair, clear as day, shattering the suffocating nightmare that enveloped her. With a burst of determination, she kicked off the icy grip and flailed toward the surface, bubbles of distress escaping her lips as her lungs burned. She broke through, gasping for air, the night sky above a glimmering expanse of stars. In the frigid lake, her friends were rise along with her. Trevor, his face twisted in fear, and Sean, floundering nearby, fighting to stay afloat. "Over here!" Trevor shouted, tossing his arm toward an old wooden dock protruding from the lake's edge. Jenna clung to the hope his voice brought, the structure a lifeline in the chaos. They paddled together, urgency driving them towards the dim outline. As they reached the dock, Jenna hoisted herself up, frantically pulling Trevor and Sean along. They collapsed on the splintered wood, gasping and shivering. The air felt thick with the weight of unspoken fears, the cabin looming ominously behind them, whispering dark secrets. "Did it follow us?" Sean panted, peeking back at the water's edge, dread etched on his features. "It wants us to remember," Jenna said, her heart racing as she fought to keep the memories at bay. "It's rooted in our past. Then let us burn it down." Trevor's voice sliced through the tension, firm and unwavering. "We have to confront it head-on. It can't touch us if we don't let it. But what if it shows us things we can't handle?" Jenna's voice trembled as she glanced back at the cabin, where shadows danced behind those stony walls. "Things we've tried to forget? Things we need to face," Trevor insisted, determination lighting up his eyes. "We can't keep running." The howl of the wind swept through them, an ominous reminder they weren't alone. A sudden flicker of light erupted from the cabin, casting an eerie glow over the dock. Shadows contorted into grotesque forms, twisting in sync with the whispers. The voice slithered through the air again, seductive yet terror-laden. come back to me, I want to show you enough." Sean shouted, rising to his feet, the resolve surging in him. "We control this now. Our past doesn't own us. We own it." Jenna took a deep breath, grounding herself. "Fine, we go back but together. We face it together." As they stepped back onto the dock, the temperature plummeted, a prelude to the horrors they faced. Each step toward the cabin felt like wading through molasses, heavy and thick. Jenna felt the weight of all their regrets, a tapestry of guilt, joy, and fear entwined in a nightmare ready to unfurl. The door creaked open, beckoning them into the mouth of darkness. They aligned, shoulders touching, hearts hammering in unison. Jenna felt a surge of fear and hope, the two battling within her. Whatever lay beyond that threshold could reshape their futures. Just as they entered, the whispers erupted anew, a cacophony of longing and despair. "Let me show you," with their pasts swirling around them like smoke, a chilling realization struck Jenna. They weren't just confronting their fears, they were about to unleash a destiny none of them could predict. What if it's not just memories?" she whispered, panic creeping into her voice. "What if it's more?" As shadows wove tighter, reality blurred, and the darkness enveloped them once more. What awaited them in the heart of the cabin, truth or devastation? What choices would they confront here, and what would they discover about themselves in this twisted labyrinth? The whispers crescendoed, an invitation laced with malice that promised revelations, but at what cost? Inside the cabin, the air was thick, oppressive, as if it knew the weight of secrets long buried. Shadows flickered against the walls, twisting into shapes that danced just beyond Jenna's peripheral vision. Her heart raced like a frantic drum, each beat a pulse of dread. What awaited them in the darkness? "Stay close," Trevor whispered, his voice trembling, but edged with determination. As they moved deeper into the cabin, the whispers became clearer, a haunting choir weaving a melody of regret and longing. Remember, they echoed, sending shivers down Jenna's spine. Each step forward felt like trespassing on sacred ground, where moments of joy twisted into torture. The once familiar space closed in around them, memories surfacing like ghosts come to haunt them. Jenna caught a glimpse of the old dining table, covered in dust yet somehow glistening with remnants of laughter from summers past. "Oh God," Sean gasped, stumbling as recognition washed over him. "Remember when we played that stupid game here? The one where we had to share our darkest secrets?" The memory stabbed at Jenna. It was meant to be fun, a way to strengthen their bond. But they had unearthed wounds they had never fully healed. "I didn't want to," Jenna murmured, her throat tightening at the memory of her confession, a moment of vulnerability that had cracked open the door to their collective pain. "Should," Trevor urged. "Let us not get lost in what was. We need to focus on who we are now." And yet, the memories pulled her deeper. Shadowy figures darted past her, unreal yet undeniably familiar. Jenna could sense them, people lost to time. She barely recognized their laughter, the echo transformed into chilling cries. A sudden crash sent them scrambling to the side, the cabin shifting around them. The wind howled through the cracked windows, whipping the shadows into a frenzy. "Leave! Leave now, or be claimed!" A disembodied voice roared, startling them into stillness. "We can't leave," Sean set his jaw, the resolve morphing his features. "We need to face whatever this is." Jenna nodded, swallowing hard against the lump in her throat. Questions plagued her. How could they confront this darkness without succumbing to it? Sweat dripped down her back, a reminder of the oppressive dread that coiled around her heart. As they pressed on, the oppressive whispers shifted, morphing into something more jagged, cruel. "You hid from me, you denied me," the cabin screeched as if the walls were alive, pressing in closer as Jenna's grip tightened on Trevor's arm. What is it?" Jenna's voice trembled as she fought against the suffocating fear that coiled tighter around her lungs. "Your truth. Your choice. Remember." The voice surged, vibrating in her chest, stirring old memories that clawed to the surface. Jenna felt the pulse of her past beat more fiercely, the weight of secrets pressing down, suffocating. Then, from the depths of the shadows, they emerged, ghostly figures from that summer, united by shared pain and loss. Jenna's heart dropped as she recognized them. Friends who were lost, each a reflection of the darkest choices they had made, choices that had driven them apart. No, she choked, the panic creeping back like a familiar ache. How could they confront these shadows when their reality felt so fragile? Trevor stepped forward as if drawn by an invisible force, his face a mask of determination. "We need to own this," he shouted, voice breaking through the cacophony. "We have the power to change it." As he reached out, something shifted in the air, sharp as glass. The connection tethered them to the past, a tangible reminder that they weren't just fighting shadows. They were battling their very own fears, the regrets etched into their souls. Together, Jenna whispered, breathless. "We face it together." But before they could take another step, the shadows lunged, swirling around them in a tempest of accusations and lost chances. "You can't escape me. You're part of me." The darkness pressed closer, suffocating and impossible to shake. What would they find at the heart of their fears? Would they embrace the truth, even as it threatened to tear them apart? As the shadows clashed, Jenna wondered if what lay ahead was salvation or total destruction. "Let go. Find the light." Trevor screamed, desperation coursing through his voice. Would they discover the strength to rise, or would they succumb to the chaos around them? In this moment of reckoning, Jenna felt the choice hang heavy in the air, a precipice between hope and despair. What were they truly willing to confront, and would they survive the confrontation with themselves? As shadows surged and the air grew thick with tension, Jenna's heart raced faster than ever. What awaited them in this battle against the darkness? Would they emerge unscathed, or would the weight of their past drown them once and for all? The shadows swirled with malevolent energy, morphing into familiar faces, distorted yet recognizable. Each ghostly visage carried a weight of resentment, your own memories contorting into accusations. "You didn't care." One of them cried, fingers outstretched like claws, grasping at Jenna's heart. "Stop. Just stop." Jenna shrieked, stumbling backward, her voice barely audible above the rising cacophony. The oppressive darkness seemed to pulse with her fear, the very air thickening around her as if the cabin was closing in for the kill. Trevor clutched her hand, his grip fierce. "You have to fight it, Jenna. They're not real." His voice trembled, but there was a steeliness to it that sliced through Jenna's panic. "What if they are? What if this is all we are?" Jenna's mind raced, her memories colliding violently, leaving her reeling. Those summer days had been filled with laughter, but laughter built on lies, layers of concealment and shame. Sean's gaze darted among the shadows, sweat beading on his forehead. "Remember what we promised each other? To never let the past control us?" His words struggled against the whirlpool of torment around them. It was a lifeline, yet it felt so distant. The ghost of their friend Chris stepped closer, eyes dark and haunting. "You thought you could bury it all, you thought you were free." The accusation rang like a bell tolling doom, and Jenna felt the breath hitch in her throat. "No, please, we can't," she gasped. Her instincts screamed to retreat, to run. But where? The cabin had transformed into a labyrinth of despair, and every exit was an illusion. Trevor brought his voice low, steadying. "Let it go, Jenna. Face it. We can take it back. We can reclaim what was stolen." The shadows pulsed with energy, their whispers rising into a guttural roar. "Face your sins. Your sins." They taunted, each word slicing through Jenna's resolve, fraying it thread by thread. "Shut up," she shouted. "You aren't in control." But with each denial, she felt the truth behind their words anchoring her down. Each friend, a reflection of lost responsibility and regret, surged forth in waves of raw emotion. Suddenly, the shadows erupted, pushing forward to engulf her, but Jenna's fear morphed into something deeper, a spark of rage ignited within her. This time, she wasn't going to let them define her, she would confront them, one truth at a time. "You won't take me down. We're stronger together." Sparks of light flared in her palms as she and Trevor stood arm in arm, each heartbeat igniting a flicker of strength. Jenna focused, digging into her memories, not the haunted ones, but the cherished times when laughter and love drowned out the darkness. "Remember camping out under the stars? We promised to support each other no matter the storms," she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos around them. A shift caught their attention. The shadows hesitated, vibrating with uncertainty. Jenna could see a sliver of light on the edges of the darkness, an opportunity. "We are more than our mistakes," she continued, her confidence rising. Trevor joined in, his voice united with hers. "We are the laughter, the joy, the resilience. Those truths build us up." The shadows recoiled, and Jenna felt an opening before them, a gap in the swirling storm. It was a moment of clarity amidst despair. "We can walk into the light together. We won't be alone." As they surged forward, the figures shrieked, blurring like smoke against the brightness. The shadows were retreating, yet not without one final moment of defiance. "You can't erase us. We will always return." The walls of the cabin trembled violently, threatening to collapse as Jenna and her friends surged toward the light. Just as they reached for freedom, the floor beneath them cracked, and darkness poured through the fissures like an ominous tide. "Wait! What's happening?" she screamed as she felt the ground shift beneath them. "What is that?" Sean yelled, terror coloring his voice. The answer loomed just ahead, and Jenna realized as the light flickered, that they weren't out of danger yet. The darkness was desperate, but it was also clever. It knew their fears and would stop at nothing to drag them back into the void. Would they navigate this final test, or would the shadows pull them back into the depths of despair? Just as Jenna reached for Trevor's hand, the world around them began to twist again, and she felt the pull of the past threaten to drag them under. What awaited them on the other side of this truth? Would they shatter under the weight of betrayal, or would they claw their way back to the surface together? With a surge of determination, Jenna tightened her grip on Trevor's hand, feeling the warmth of his resolve anchoring her as fear clawed at her from every side. "We're almost there," she urged, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her as the shadows hissed and whipped like wild snakes, desperately trying to reclaim what they thought was theirs. "Keep pushing," Trevor shouted, bolstered by her bravery. Together, they shoved against the weight of the darkness, each step heavy but resolute. Sean followed closely, breathing deeply, drawing strength from their shared memories, the laughter, the joy, the unyielding support that threaded through their friendship like an umbilical cord. As the shadows screamed, a voice broke through the chaos, demanding their attention again. "You cannot run from what you are." The figure shrieked, a past version of themselves writhing within the darkness. The air grew thick with the weight of the unspoken truths, taunting them, pulling them back towards the despair they had tried so hard to escape. Jenna felt the heat of desperation rising in her throat, threatening to drown her. "No!" she shouted, hurling those memories back into the void. "You don't define us anymore. We're not the broken pieces you think we are." That bold proclamation cut through the clamor, causing the darkness to ripple with uncertainty, its grip loosening, if only for a moment. With each declaration of defiance, Jenna, Trevor, and Sean transformed the guilt that had once shackled them into a powerful current of liberation. The light ahead pulsed like a heartbeat, a beacon of hope pulling them closer. "Just a little further," Sean urged, his voice rising above the wails of the past. As they surged forward, shadows clawed at their heels, hissing warnings of failure, but every echo simply fueled their resolve. "I won to be lost again," Trevor yelled fiercely, the words igniting new courage in all of them. "We owe it to ourselves to move forward." With a final heave, they felt the energy shift around them, almost as if the air itself was cheering them on. They broke through, tumbling into the light, where the chaos around them dissolved like mist in the dawn. The warmth enveloped them, a stark contrast to the chill they had just escaped. As they gathered themselves, gasping and trembling, they found themselves standing beneath a sky filled with stars, a serene lake mirroring the moonlight. The cabin, now a distant figure, paled against the beauty of the night, becoming a mere memory. Did we make it?" Jenna breathed, astonished, looking at her friends' faces, the relief washing over them. Trevor nodded slowly, still searching the horizon for signs of darkness. "I think we did. But we can't forget what happened. We learned from this. We have to carry those lessons with us," Sean added, steadier than before. "We can't let fear control us anymore." Jenna smiled through tears, a mix of sorrow and joy. "We faced our worst fears, together. Because we didn't shy away from the darkness, it no longer has a hold on us." They shared a moment's silence punctuated only by the gentle lapping of water against the shore. The air was clean, fragrant with pine and night, a stark reminder of hope. As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of gold and lavender, they stood hand in hand, forging a pact to embrace both their past and their future, each remembering the strength they gained from one another. The nightmares of summer had transformed into stories that resonated loudly in their hearts. They could finally move forward, knowing that the shackles binding them to their past were shattered. "Let us make new memories," Jenna whispered, a glimmer of excitement igniting in her chest. "On our terms," Sean replied, smiling. Trevor chuckled softly, shaking his head playfully. "And maybe we skip the ghost stories this time?" "Definitely," Jenna laughed, her heart lighter than it had been in years. They turned back towards life, determined to live each day with authenticity, remembering the bond forged in those darkest hours. They grinned at one another and stepped forward. Into the light of a new day. Their summer had been haunted, but now, it was time to write a story all their own, one of hope, resilience, and unwavering friendship. And as for Lakeview Cabin? It became a symbol for them, a reminder that darkness could be confronted, understood, and ultimately transformed into something lovely. But as they walked away, beneath the sheltering trees, they felt a shift in the shadows, a promise that the past would whisper gently, reminding them of their strength, and that they would always stand united against the darkness, come what may. So now, I need your help. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm and keep these adventures alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Your support means everything. Let us keep the journey going together.